Hey guys, a lot of you have been asking what is in my portfolio. I'm going to provide an overview of my entire portfolio, so make sure you stick to the end of the video. Currently at $500,074. Past year up 51.61%. So this is definitely an anomaly where it's such a high growth, and a lot of my portfolio is pretty heavy in growth. Buying power of $104. I do have another $65,000 in a high yield savings account at a yield of 4.35%, so I can deploy it into the market when there's opportunities to buy. Cryptocurrency, I do have one Ethereum just to continue to follow cryptocurrency. You could see average cost of $638 or 0.5% portfolio. I'm up 288%. I don't plan to buy any more Ethereum or Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, but just want to hold long term. All right, NVIDIA is my largest position, and there's been a lot of buzz lately given the artificial intelligence growth. This makes up 18.23% portfolio or $91,000. I'm up 1,041%, and I do plan to continue holding this long term because I do see there's a lot of positive upside with NVIDIA given their data center growth. Next is Apple. This makes up 8.44% portfolio or $42,222, up 367% on this position. Next is Amazon. This makes up 6.46% portfolio or $32,298, up 47%. Amazon is a big e-commerce, but they also have web services, which is another part of the business. And I think that with artificial intelligence, that'll help Amazon boost their profitability long term. Next is Microsoft, which is pretty big in AI as well, given that they've partnered with OpenAI and plan to integrate AI into their full stack, whether it's silicon, the semiconductor chip, all the way to their applications in productivity and cloud. This makes up 6.44% portfolio or $32,195, up 276%. Next is Vanguard Growth ETF. This has pretty good exposure to the overall growth stocks. This makes up 6.14% portfolio or $30,000, $700. 11,000 or well, sorry, misspoke. Total return is 11.52%. And some of the stocks in this include Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, NVIDIA, Alphabet or parent company of Google, Meta Platforms, Tesla, Visa, Eli Lilly. So I'm already exposed to some of these stocks individually, but this is just another way to get diversity exposure into those stocks. Meta Platforms, which is the parent company of Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Oculus VR. This makes a 4.85% portfolio or $24,258, up 108%. And Meta was pretty high growth this year, up almost 200%. I do plan to continue holding long term. They do have a duopoly with Google in the online advertisement space, but we'll see how that pans out with other companies chipping into the ad revenue. Vanguard Information Technology ETF makes up 4.71% portfolio or $23,535, up 266%. Next is Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, which tracks some of the largest U.S. companies, makes up 3.9% portfolio or $19,518, up 78%. Mercado Libre is an e-com e-payments company based in Latin America. This makes up 3.77% portfolio or $18,829, up 62%. Visa, which is a payment processor company, makes up 3.65% portfolio or $18,238, up 125% on this position. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. This makes up 2.77% portfolio or $13,869, up 37%. And And they reported earnings earlier this week and did fairly well. That's why you could see a pop this past week. Alphabet Class A shares, which has voting rights, makes up 2.73% portfolio or $13,653, up 157%. Alphabet Class C shares does not have voting rights. This makes up 2.29% portfolio or $11,438, up 138%. And Alphabet, similar to Meta, is big in online advertisement, but we'll see how they continue to get into the AI space with Bard, and it seems like it hasn't been widely well received compared to ChatGPT. Adobe, which is big in the online content creation space, makes up 2.24% portfolio or $11,214, up 56% on this position. Costco recently paid a special dividend, and they're a warehouse bulk retail play. This makes up 2.12% portfolio or $10,614, up 159% on this position. Next is CrowdStrike Holdings, which is in cybersecurity. This makes up 1.96% portfolio or $9,796, up 104% on this position. I wish I had more. I actually sold some of my CrowdStrike to get exposure to some other cybersecurity stocks that I'll talk about later. United Health makes up 1.92% portfolio or $95.85, up 191% on this position. Johnson & Johnson, it's a pretty stable stock, dividend stock, makes up 1.88% portfolio or $9,377, up 24%. Shopify, which is in the e-commerce space, makes up 1.88% portfolio or $9,376. I'm down 4.21% on this position. I do see there will be growth long term, so I'll continue to hold. Next is McDonald's. This makes up 1.8% portfolio or $9,015, up 87% on this position. Home Depot, which is in the home improvement space, makes up 1.68% portfolio or $8,392, up 97% on this position. Berkshire Hathaway, this doesn't pay any dividends. This makes up 1.39% portfolio or $6,972, up 94% on this position. This is Warren Buffett's company and is a holding company that is pretty diversified. They have fully owned companies as well as partially owned companies, but I do plan to continue holding this long term. Next is Tencent, which is a Chinese company. They are in businesses like gaming, social media, fintech. This makes up 1.37% portfolio or $6,857. I'm down 27% on this position. I think a lot of the Chinese stocks are not doing well, but I do plan to continue holding long term. Palo Alto Networks actually sold some of my CrowdStrike stock for this one. This makes up 1.3% portfolio or $6,481. I'm up almost 41% on this position. Disney, I am down on this position, down 12.84% total return. Portfolio makes up 1.27% of portfolio, and that makes up $6,368. Next is Alibaba, another Chinese tech stock. Makes up 1.01% portfolio or $5,030. I'm down almost 60% on this position. I don't plan to buy any more Chinese stocks just because I think the government is very heavily involved in these companies and their accounting isn't that great either. So it's hard to tell whether they're really doing well or not. So I don't plan to sell this, but just want to hold it long term, similar to Tencent. Fortinet is what I bought when I sold some of my CrowdStrike. It's another cybersecurity stock. Makes up 0.87% portfolio or $4,363, down 11% on this position. Next is PayPal. Makes up 0.8% portfolio or $4,015, down almost 40% on this position. You can see it's not doing very well in the past 5 years, but I do plan to continue holding. Block or Square makes up 0.66% portfolio or $3,316, down almost 60% on this position. Similar to PayPal, I think a lot of these fintech companies, we'll see how they do long term, but I don't plan to sell anytime soon. AT&T paying a pretty decent dividend. I'm down 51% on this position. It makes up 0.62% portfolio or market value at $3,100. I might consider selling AT&T. I don't think there's much growth long term, and I do want to continue getting exposure to growth stocks. Twilio, this was a risky bet. Makes up 0.81% portfolio or $896. I'm down almost 70% on this position. I don't know, I might liquidate this stock. We'll see. Teladoc Health, another position I'm down heavily. It makes up 0.11% portfolio or $549. Down almost 80% on this position. Last but not least is Baozun, which is like the Shopify China. Makes up 0.05% portfolio or $253. Down almost 94%. It's doing really terrible. So that's my portfolio. I do have some winners, some losers, but long term, I have been doing pretty well in my portfolio, almost over $500,000. And I do plan to continue adding to my portfolio cautiously when there's opportunities to buy. I do have another high yield savings account of $65,000, and we'll continue adding to that as well. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and see you in the next video.